Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about Philip K. Dick's short story called The Impossible Planet, which was published in 1953. It's about Norton, who is this kind of sleazy space tourist who works in this intergalactic spaceship where he, as you can understand, that he offers these tours through outer space, where he adds these little lighting tricks, and he comes across as a little bit phony, perhaps, and be a bit self-absorbed. But one day he comes across this old woman who's 243 years old, named Therma, who's dying. She's sick and dying, and she wants, this as her last opportunity before she dies, to visit planet Earth, which at this stage in human civilization, human evolution, is a legend, right? Earth they're not even sure whether it even exists anymore. They knew that due to solar flares that it may have become uninhabitable. But in spite of this knowledge, this sort of sleazy Norton character decides, okay, well, I'll find a planet. He thinks I'll find a planet that's close enough, that looks pretty much like Earth, and then I'll tell her it's Earth, and we'll bring her there. That way I get the money, because she's gonna send them she's gonna give them triple the amount of money that they would usually get for something like this. So he's thrilled. And so they take their ship there, and it's this inhospitable, very desolate place that is indeed what he claims to be Earth, but it's obviously not a place where anybody could live. And then there's a very strange turning point where you don't really expect this, because you think, she's going to find out that she's being duped, and she's going to say, I want my money back, and which would be boring. But instead, what Philip K. Dick does is a little more interesting. Instead, she has a vision, she has a dream of seeing her grandparents swimming in the river in a river when she was a kid, when Earth still existed. And she wants to reenact this vision with Norton and the rest of the space crew. And then that's pretty much how the story concludes. She never finds out that she's being tricked, and you feel bad for her, though, of course. But I guess this kind of thing points to something that maybe I've not brought up before, which is that I think there's an air of almost vacuousness in the worlds that he creates. And I don't think that that's a fault on the part of the writer, of course. I think that it's something else, and it's often very hard to actually put my finger on exactly what it is. But it's basically, it's the kind of place that you never sense that people would want to sit down and really get into their emotions or their thoughts or have any kind of deep conversations. There's something that's been heavily stifled about it. And then when the old woman comes in, it's almost like those sort of magical crone kind of characters that you see in Disney movies or in other movies where the old woman appears with some sort of special unique quality or ability, something mysterious about her. She grants, in mythology or fantasy, she might grant wishes. She might, but in this case, it's very different than that in this case. But she's like the one highlight, the one thing that kind of breaks that barrier between people that seems to exist in this kind of world, and particularly in that unscrupulous kind of character. Particularly with her reference to her vision about the vision about her grandparents. I would say another thing that really stood out to me was the fact that it reminds me a lot of those folk songs, or those country songs that I used to hear, where somebody would be relaying an anecdote as they're playing. The whole thing would be like, and then I went to this place, and etc. And in this case, it starts off, the anecdote is like, it starts off in that kind of almost stupid sort of note of like this unscrupulous guy is just gonna basically cheat this woman and uses these really cheap kind of tactics. But then it ends on a note that's very moving, and it's that really is reminiscent of like the way you'd imagine the folk song would end. And it's and like I said, I think that sort of that shift in tone from the vacuous world to then getting into the thoughts and the mind of this stranger, and you don't even know exactly how she got to live that long, is really incredible.